Hello again. It's of course another week, and this is another word with Dave. And this week we're now in the book of 1 Samuels. Book of Samuels is perhaps one of my favorite set of books in the Bible. There's a lot of interesting stories that we can learn from. And it includes the story of David. And so this week we're gonna begin in 1 Samuel's chapter 3. And I'm gonna read from 1 to 2, 4 to 10, and 19 to 21. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. Eli was the priest at the time. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare. There were not many visions. One night, Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. Then the Lord called Samuel, verse 4. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me?" But Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." So he went and lay down again. The Lord called Samuel, and Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me?" "My son," Eli said, "I did not call you. Go back and lie down." Now Samuel did not know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel a third time, and Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in this place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Verse 19. The Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord. Verse 21. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, and there he revealed himself to Samuel through his word. The word of the Lord. So Samuel mistook God's voice for Eli's voice. And sometimes we might do the same thing. We might mistake somebody's voice for God's voice, or God's voice for somebody else's voice. But how can we listen to God's voice? How can we hear God's voice? So the topic for today is tune your hearts to the voice of God. Tune your hearts to the voice of God. So there's a lot of news flying around these days, a lot of negative stuff going on. And, sometimes we need to tune out some of those noises, Sometimes we need to tune out some of those noises so that we can hear the voice of God more clearly. So we need to also purge our hearts, get rid of some of those negativity out of our hearts if we want to hear the voice of God, and just quiet ourselves. I'm speaking to myself too, because I'm always on my cell phone or always on the computer. But we need to quiet our hearts so that we can hear the voice of the Lord more clearly. When we tune out some of those loud noises, then the voice of the Lord may become louder in our hearts. Samuel went back to sleep, but we should be sober. We should stay awake and be sober in these times. The answer Samuel gave is the same answer we should give. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And this answer expresses surrender, surrendering our will to the will of God. We don't know where he's going to lead us, but he will lead us if we just give our entire will to him. Leave it to him, pray about it. He's going to guide us, just like how he guided Samuel. And this shows obedience, even before we know what we're going to do. He will lead us. He will show us what to do. So Eli may have felt a little funny because he was the priest. And this little boy was the one who was hearing the voice of God. Eli didn't hear it. It was Samuel who heard the voice of God speaking. Now, we should not feel funny or weird if somebody else is hearing the voice of God, even especially if somebody younger than us hearing the voice of God, more clearer than you are. We should still guide that person, and that's what Eli did. Eli guided Samuel, and he helped him to realize it was the voice of God. So let us never fail to give instructions to the younger ones. Let us also help them in their listening to God. And we need to tune out some of those negativity and tune in more to God. I sometimes believe that we're in the final days, especially with the things going on now. But, you know, we don't know. We never know. So just continue to trust God and continue to tune your hearts to him. Amen.